Morning. Just saw me. But nice to have everybody out here. You having a good time so far? Yes. Hopefully it's interesting. So we are going to talk for about 45 minutes. There will be a test. No, wrong. There won't be a test. And this session, again, this session is about kind of what do you do when you don't really know what you're going to do. Raise your hand if you're in that situation. Okay, I probably could have guessed that, but all right. I was in that situation too, actually. I was, I should, again, if you don't know me, I'm John Fracchia. I should probably mention Eloise Greene is here, and we're going to all talk to you. Then we have a very talented panel that we're going to introduce in a moment. But your experience is more common than you think. So raise your hand again if you're in that situation. Keep it up there. Raise it high. Everybody look around the room. That's important. I want you to realize you're not in this situation alone. Who's graduating this year? No. Okay. All right. So, what we're going to talk about today is how to start to navigate it. I'm going to give you a little bit of information. Eloise is going to give you a little bit of information. Our panelists are going to give you their perspective from having been there. Panelists, were you in that situation a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay. So, quick question. How many people have an idea? Not firm idea, but an idea of what they might want to do. All right. So we've got some things going. How many people have talked with someone in my office? A few less. Okay, that's okay. How many people know where career services is? Okay. Can spell career services? Good, okay. So a good first step might be to come by career services during drop-ins and say, you know what? I am stuck. Those are brave words, actually, I think. I'm stuck. They're honest words, right? But we know, because we raised our hands, and again, I said personally, I was there. I don't know if any of the panelists said it. Eloise, I don't know if you were there when you were in college in your senior year. You may have been kind of figured out, didn't you?
I was hopeless.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, here we are. We're a little more experienced in our careers, and yet we would have been sitting in these chairs. So, there's bravery and there's authenticity in saying I'm stuck. Here's the good news is, that's not English. The good news is this. There we go, that's English. You don't have to stay stuck, right? How many people think the idea of figuring it out is a big, giant thing? Anybody worried about, I don't know where to start, and it's a big, giant thing, and might roll over me like, the boulder in Indiana Jones, right? Raiders of the Lost Ark. Here's the thing. It starts with a conversation, right? We're not going to sit with you, none of us are, and say, okay, you have to do X, Y, Z, and the other thing, here's this, here's that, the other thing. We're going to start with, what are you thinking about? Right? Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's, I don't know. That's okay. We can still work with I don't know. But we're going to have small conversations. And those small conversations are going to lead to next steps. So if there's something that you're just thinking about, but you don't know a lot about it, my first question to you would be this. Have you talked to anybody in that profession? Raise your hand if the idea in your head you've talked to somebody in that profession. Quite a few hands. Good. Okay. Raise your hand if not only have you talked with them, but you've actually spent time with them or someone else in that profession watching what they do. Okay. So for some of you, that might be a next step. We call that job shadowing. Raise your hand if the thing you're thinking about, you've done any experiential learning, and that could be internships, that could be volunteering, that could be clubs. Pretty good. So where are you stuck? Hey, this is an all play. Anybody can answer. Let me hear some. Yeah.
At the front line.
At the front line. Tell me a little more.
When you start a race,
Uh-huh.
to run,
Yeah.
and like I'm stuck, I can't run.
Okay. Like you don't know how, you don't know.
I don't know where to go.
You don't know the next move, you don't know where you're trying to path to. Okay, got it. Anybody else feeling that way? Okay. You kind of know a lot of stuff, you kind of have an inkling, but you don't know what to do next. Okay, got it. Okay. What else? Where else are we stuck? Yeah.
My interests are too broad. I like too many things.
Like lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't. pick.
Anybody else on that boat? Just got a lot of stuff you like. Yeah, I'm sort of that guy now. Here's the thing. Sometimes you can do more than one thing. I'm not suggesting they can all be your full-time career. They can't. But you can sometimes have a starting place and do what we call slash careers. And you develop something else and you see. The other thing is, I want to be really clear on this point, your first job, in my opinion, is not for life. Very rare. Like our grandparents or our great-grandparents went to work somewhere, and often it was for life. It doesn't work that way anymore. So even if your first job isn't a good fit, you don't have to do it forever. You might do it a year or two. You might learn, you'll still learn transferable skills, and then you move on to something that's a better fit. What else are we stuck on? Yeah?
I'm stuck thinking about my competitors. Like, I feel like I'm not good enough, so I'm like spending so much time, like my website, like my resume, like, my portfolio, because I feel like I have to be better.
Who's worried about competitors? There may be Cornellians and Harvidians. I don't think that's the right word, but I like saying it, Harvidians. Right? Here's Harvardians, maybe. Yeah, Harvardians is probably more correct. Yeah, let's someone trademark that. So here's the deal. You don't control who else is out there. Like when you're in a search, there could be 2 other candidates, there could be 10 other candidates, there could be 400 other candidates, and there's nothing you can do about that. So here's my question. What do you control in this situation?
My own, like, quality stopper.
That's right. You can control what you've learned and how you've approached your academic education. You control how you've approached your experiential education. You control how you capture that in a way that you present to someone else. So a resume, learning to communicate in a cover letter, learning how to communicate it through an interview, which are all things that there are resources on this campus to help you develop. And you also control the level of enthusiasm and passion you have for your field. And if you bring those things, I'm not saying it's going to work out in every single circumstance, but if you bring those things, often you're going to be a very competitive candidate, regardless of who else is in the pool. Okay? That make sense? Mm-hmm. Make sense to other folks? Kind of, sort of? You don't have to believe me. All right. Any other things that we're stuck on? This will help inform our conversation as we move forward. Those are the good general themes? Okay. So what I want to really impart to you, and then I'm going to transition it, is this. It's okay to be stuck. It's not okay to stay stuck. And by coming here today, you've actually taken a step to not being stuck. And by talking to people in your fields, you're actually taking action toward not being stuck. So I'm going to challenge you. If you are someone that's worked with career services, keep building on that. If you're someone who hasn't, come into the office this week during our drop-in hours and just say those 2 words, I'm stuck. Tell us your story. Let us help you start to sort it out. Does that make sense? Who's willing to commit to that? Show of hands. Most. Okay, good. I know, that's a brave step. Good for you. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to pass it to my partner, Eloise Greene, from the Park School of Communication, to offer thoughts from her perspective, and then we're going to go right into our panel.
Yep.
Eloise.
Thanks. I won't take that much time because I want to hear from a panel, especially from Morgan, who I remember when she was a student here and went to our IC New York City program, and to hear about what she's been up to in the last couple of years. With John and I, we kind of play good cop, bad cop, bad cop. And I say, no, it's not okay to not know what you're going to do. If you've got loans coming due 6 months after you graduate, then you need to start paying those back. So a little bit of history of how things have changed, and your parents might not even be aware of it in the job market over the last few years, starting with the financial recession collapse in 2008, when hiring kind of dried up. I really feel sorry for people who graduated in those years because they have never actually caught up with their salaries or their positions, so you're in a better shape than they are now. And so a lot of firms went to temporary hiring, and this, you may have heard the term permalance. That's freelance forever. And that has become, certainly in the communications area, a trend. And there are numerous programs that will provide you with some training over a 3, 6, or 1 year period that you have a chance to experience a company has a chance to experience you. It may be a match, it may not, but it keeps you in the game. And that's what you need to do. You can go home and you can work at Panera Bread, and you can make more money than you will working at one of these companies in their postgraduate, they call them internships, for $15 an hour, which is not going to get you an apartment anywhere, but maybe in Elmira, okay, Binghamton. But it at least keeps you in the game, you're learning some new skills, and you're trying out, you're in the business. So how do you find these things? Well, it used to be that there were employment agencies because there was no internet. So you want to find out about jobs and short-term propositions, you go to an employment agency. But now, of course, with the internet and everything, social media, companies can directly market themselves to you, and all you have to do is go on the web and you'll find these opportunities. Sometimes the nature of it, you might think, I'm not qualified for. And I'll show you an example when I give you that handout. I'm old-fashioned, I believe in handouts. But you can apply to these places right now because many of them, the program starts in June or July. So this is the time to apply to them. And they're in New York, but they're also in LA, they're Chicago, they're in Minneapolis, Atlanta, various places all around the country. Some of them are agencies like advertising and PR agencies, companies like IBM, and you probably know the most famous one of all, the NBC Page program. Okay, so that's one of the original ones of this kind of short-term training opportunity. So the other thing that happened besides the recession and the short-term thing was the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, which means now these companies don't have to give you health insurance anymore because you're under the age of 26 and you can be on your parents' health insurance. So they get out of that as well. So it's a really good deal for them. They get a college graduate, they pay you $15 an hour, they don't provide any benefits, but it works for you too. So, you know, this might be a good thing for you. And I think if you start and just start churning these things out, don't worry too much about it, treat it like a game, don't stress out too much, you know, just keep applying with your resume and at least a short, brief, targeted cover letter to the program that they're offering. You may hear back, you may not, but at least you're doing something now instead of waiting until you get home and like, oh, what am I going to do? So let me just pass this out so it won't take that much time. And can you help me with that? Who's the greeter for this? Oh, there you are. Okay. Thanks. And I'll go over these with you. Keep one of them. And this works for humanities majors. It's not just communications majors. It can be anything that isn't engineering, biology, some of the more targeted majors that can go into what they call them internships, they call them fellowships, they call them associate programs. They're all over the map. And these are just some companies on the front page that offer these. And one of the last ones there is a Zenith Optimedia media training program. And so if you turn and look at the back, that's offered in 5 different cities. And it says all majors welcome. And this is an occupation maybe nobody's thought about. It's media planning, media strategy, media buying. And all majors welcome to apply for this. And then on the last page, I have 2 particular things that companies do that might be just like a one-time thing. I have Pixar for a production internship, and Puma, which makes the shoes and the clothing. which is in Boston, that are offering this kind of thing too. And you think, oh, production intern, that's not me. But when you read it, it's just a secretarial job to get you into Pixar. So you think, okay, Pixar, Panera Bread, Pixar, I'd rather go to Pixar. So, and Puma is, you all know social media now. And that's what they're looking for Puma, is a social media and central marketing office in Boston as well. So you'll find many, many of these things on the web. And I would just encourage you, if also you're applying or planning things like a full-time job with benefits and with that is permanent, but also think about these short-term training programs as well that could lead to a really good career. Yeah.
Do you have any more?
Oh, well, this is
There's a couple.
this one.
people on
Yeah.
some of the
Okay.
bottom.
Oh, okay. I didn't expect so many people. That's all I have. But I can stop by the park school. I'm there all the time. I have lots more there, so I guess that's all.
All right.
So you want to go on?
So, all right. Thank you, Eloise. So what we want to do now is we have three talented individuals here who can perhaps relate to our topic a little bit. And they're going to talk with you. I'm right in the way, aren't I?
No, you're good.
And they're going to answer your questions and undoubtedly impart some words of wisdom. So I'm going to have them start by introducing themselves, if they would. We'll go for that. Yeah, Jonathan, you go for it.
What's up, everyone? My name is Jonathan Cummings. Oh, sorry, I had too much coffee. My name is Jonathan Cummings. I graduated from Ithaca College in May, and now I work in a law firm downtown in Ithaca, Friedlander Law Firm. It's a family practice that focuses more on nursing home cases, civil litigation, and every so often real estate, because there's a lot of money there.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ritza Francois. I am the front of house manager at the Hangar Theater. Besides that, I'm also a barista at Gimme Coffee if you're ever down there on State Street. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to John and Eloise and Career Services for inviting me here to talk about my experience, but also thank you. I see some like familiar faces, and I'm really interested in hearing about some of the questions that you guys had, because I literally was in this room last year. So since then, I've learned so much about being out of school, and I'm really interested in sharing experiences. So feel free to ask me questions, and I can answer them.
Hello, I'm Morgan Edwards. I graduated from IC from the Park School in 2013. And I am currently working in Boston, Massachusetts at a publishing company called Cengage Learning. And I was on this panel last year, and last year at this time I had no idea, literally no idea what I was doing. I had been out of school for 2 years. I was stuck. I was literally stuck. And at this time last year, last January, I made an appointment with Career Services. I said, I need help. I need to get out of Ithaca. I grew up here. I went to school here. I need to do something in my major. I was stuck. I went to Career Services. A year later, I'm on this panel with my first real job in my degree. So,
All right.
yeah.
Thank you all. So I'd like to just kind of prime the pump with the first question, then I want to open it up. So the theme of stuck, I think, is really kind of the key one, perhaps. What was your breakthrough to getting unstuck? Realizing that is a continuum, of course. But what worked for you? Yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
So I think.
Yeah, there you go.
So I think what I had difficulty realizing, and someone had mentioned it before, was having so many options, and I could go here, I can go here. I was a business major, and I was business marketing and management, and I was just like, man, that's so broad, you know, like where am I gonna go from there, you know? And I think what really helped me figure it out was just giving myself space time to like not be in school and evaluate my options without finals and like essays being in my brain. So what I did was I stayed in Ithaca over the summer, and I just decided to just live in, get a little part-time job, really just figure out what was, I keep saying like reclaim, but like reevaluate who I was now that I was out of school. Because I think a lot of times we get stuck in college, like I have to do this, I have to go to class. I was like, wow, I don't have to go to class. I don't have homework. And so I think for any folks who are like, I think I want to like stay or, in Ithaca or do anything like that, find time, even as you're starting to prepare for graduations, for seniors and stuff like that, find time for yourself and figure out like, whoa, what do I really like to do? Like just from during my free time. What does that feel like? Because I think I kind of lost that when I was in college. I didn't really know like what was me. And then when I stayed in Ithaca over the summer, I found out, I really like hula hooping. I really like coffee, I really like theater, and it opened up so many opportunities for me. So I think rethinking the person that is you, because I had options. I had worked at I had 2 previous jobs. Like I worked at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. I had worked at a law firm before. I had done so many big jobs, and people are like, are you gonna go back into that? And I'm like, I don't know. And then like I just kind of took the brain space to say like, what do I want to do now that I've graduated? The person that I was a year ago is different now. So don't ever feel rushed into going into something. Really figure out who you are, and it's gonna show. People are gonna see, like, once you are balanced and know what you're about, people will come to you, believe it or not. I hope that answers.
Everybody's truth is good.
And I can speak to that more too. During my year and a half after I graduated IC, I worked at Ithaca High School in their aquatics program and a substitute teaching. And I graduated with my degree in TV, radio production with script writing concentration. And I knew that I loved TV production. I had 2 internships here at IC. I went to LA, and then I went to New York, and I had 2 internships at 2 television shows. I knew that was one of my passions. I love TV, I love writing. So during my 2 years off, I really took some time to figure out, okay, what is it about those that I like? And I realized that I loved storytelling and writing and editing, so that's how I found my path to the publishing company. So I think really taking a step back and seeing what your passions are outside of school can help you find that path to that field.
For me, what made me realize that, at first I was stuck and I guess got unstuck, was that I just first took the time to breathe. Because immediately after college, after I graduated, I went through a whole bunch of existential crises, is that the right word to say? Where, I'll admit, like, I freaked out, cried, called my mom, like, all that jazz. It's fine. Like, you're just so used to being in college where everything is so structured. You're so used to going back to school in August. When you graduate, you're like, oh man, I can't like just go to my friend's res hall or whatever anymore. They're not here anymore. Or there's nothing really structured. There's no classes. There isn't that anymore. So just taking the time to breathe and realize that, hey, I actually have a bachelor's. That's a notch in my belt. Think of it that way, in a kind of way. It opens a lot of doors for you. You have a degree. I guess for me, what also made me really realize that I wasn't fully stuck was that I'm originally from Kingston, Jamaica, and I moved to New York City in the Bronx, and here I am. And when I went back to New York, I'm like, hey, I graduated from Ithaca College. I'm 22. I graduated. I have a bachelor's. And people are like, wow, really? That's awesome. Do you have? Wow, that's awesome. Like, I'm like 27. And I'm like still planning on getting my bachelor's and everything. I'm like, really? Wow. It's just because I've been in this environment where everyone is pursuing a bachelor's or an advanced degree, and Cornell's on the other side of the hill where it's Ivy League. So there's all the pressure, or all the this notion that if you don't graduate exactly at 22, 23, you don't have your bachelor's by then something's wrong. But in reality, we're actually pretty ahead of the game. You just need to realize that. And use your networks. Just use your networks and just try things. I'm working in a law firm right now, but right now my passion, what I'm interested in, is politics and advocacy. I'm working in a law firm to see if I'm interested in law. Now, I'm like, yeah, I could be a lawyer. I could charge people $300 an hour to talk to me, sure. Well, I was a scam people, but but I'm like, all right, I could be a lawyer, but it's not what I'm passionate about. I'm not super passionate about it. Maybe later on in life, where eventually when student loans are, when a U.S. Marshal won't arrest you for not paying your student loans, maybe. But for now, just try out things that you're passionate about, and realize that you're ahead of the game. You're pretty privileged to graduate at 22 with a bachelor's. Just remember that.
All right, let's open it up. What questions do you have? Yes?
How have you all went about networking? I feel like every time I try to do it, I feel like super awkward, like I'm an extroverted introvert. So like, what are your like techniques that you've taken when you're doing it?
So when I was at IC, I was pretty involved in, you know, some of the events that were happening on campus. I went to a lot of the networking nights, and I think networking really like clicked for me once I started just going into events and not expecting much. Like having like this is nothing's gonna happen here. I'm just gonna like go in and it's just gonna like, nothing's gonna happen. And then like you realize a lot of the programs that the career services makes are really structured to kind of like naturally push you and get you to where you wanna go. So I think what helped me network a lot was just like kind of going in there with like this, not necessarily like going there with like not expecting anything, but just like going in there with like an open mind. Like if I go in there, I'm not gonna find, people go in there thinking I'm gonna find my dream job, you know? Just go in there and just speak to people. Like there are people that I met at a New York City networking night 2 years ago that I still have coffee with, you know, just because I was talking to them about coffee and now I'm in coffee, you know? So like speaking to people about things that you just really like on a daily basis will attract you, and then that natural like networking will flow. You don't have to try to be something else. And then like, you know, what you're doing career-wise can come later. So like definitely portray those, because there's a lot of people, I think you had talked about like competitors, right? There's a lot of people trying to do the same thing that you're doing, and no one wants to hear that. I've gone to networking nights and I've gone in there being that, here's my resume, here's this, and it just doesn't work sometimes. You know, if you're speaking casually with someone about, oh, I just did this or whatever, people find that that's unique. So really hang on to the things that you do that are unique, and someone's gonna notice. I keep going back to that, but it's so true. You know, so I mentioned that part of one of my like hobbies is like hula hoop, and I actually make hula hoops as well. And so an IC alumni started the circus school in town, and I was in circus while I was in IC. And she had me make hula hoops for the circus school. You know, so at the circus school, if you go there right now, those are all my hula hoops that I made. So it's just like these small things that can just happen just from saying, and they paid me, from doing these like little activities. So definitely just be open to like sharing your experience and someone will notice. Yeah.
And also going along with that, the network nights are really cool. There's one in Boston last month. I live in Boston, and also one thing that I really found helpful was on Career Services website. There is a place where you can, I can't remember the exact name of it, but you can plug in the city, the major, and other details, and you can search for anybody who's in the alumni network in that city. So when I knew I was moving to Boston, I knew I wanted to work in publishing. I typed in Boston, Massachusetts, publishing, writing, and a list of IC alumni came up with their emails. If you don't want to do face-to-face conversations, which is tough, it's tough for me, shoot them an email. Go to their LinkedIn page. It's an easy way to connect and find someone you may not have found at a network night, or someone on LinkedIn or Facebook. And I did. I connected with someone at the Boston Globe. It didn't pan out, but I still have that contact. And I found that really helpful if you just wanted to write an email, connect on LinkedIn. So.
Yeah, I was going to do that myself. You can do small networking.
Yep.
And it's a lot. I'm an introvert. Most people don't see that because I can do stuff like this, but actually, I hate the big room. And so a small, concise networking email often brings great results. What you're trying to remember, by the way, is called the Alumni Directory. and all seniors have access to it, and non-seniors, if we have any here, can come to Career Services and we can sign you in. It pairs beautifully with the LinkedIn alumni search feature, which everyone may not know. Jonathan, if you have anything to add, but-
So with networking, the thing that I found that's most effective is just make sure you get a business card from that person who you're trying to network with, and just shoot them a quick email saying like, oh, you met at so-and-so event or whatever, and I would love to speak with you about what you're doing because I'm interested in that. Sometimes it's actually that simple, because people love it when you just follow up and just email them. You know, kind of rubs their ego a bit. You kind of like it. You know, if someone like yeah, like if you get a business card from someone and just email them and follow up, it's like, okay, cool. I'm a professional, and here's someone who's ambitious. Here's someone who's interested in what I'm doing. Like, yeah, let me try and help you out. Like, why not? Advice is free, and yeah, why not? Try to get as much advice in regards to networking. When you network with people, get as much advice and try to have them connect you with something. Also, and it was said before, but make sure you use your alumni resources. Last week, I was in DC, and this guy who was an alumni of Ithaca College, he's a lawyer in DC, and he was actually, yeah, he's like a big-time lawyer in DC now. He was like some head of some bar association or something.
Keith Waters?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So just use your alumni network, email people, and just don't be afraid to reach out. I mean, I get like speaking to people just randomly at networking events maybe a little awkward sometimes, but just make sure you try and get a business card from the person. Even if they're busy, just maybe interrupt the conversation and say, oh, hey, you are working in media, and I'm interested in media. I know you're busy right now. Maybe can I get your business card so I could email you, be in touch? Yeah, it's a business card. I'll just give you a business card. It's it's not a lot of pressure or work for them, so they'll just give you. Just make sure you follow up.
Something, I just want to add one thing to it too. I think a lot of times, students in particular forget about the power of networking in peer groups. In fact, I think it's the one great miss. So I want to ask, and I'm going to possibly mention this later, and I think, what do you study?
So graphic design.
Graphic design. What do you want to do with that?
Either work for an ad agency or work for like a small nonprofit, just helping them out with communications.
Okay. So I need the rest of the group to help me out here. I want you to raise your hand if someone in your life either is a graphic designer or works in the field of advertising or a nonprofit in communications. Raise your hand if that's true. Now, I want you to keep them up, please. I want to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 people in this room. Do you know everybody in this room? No, you don't, right. So here's the lesson in it. I could do this, I could go around to every single person in this room, and I will wager you we would have at least one hand, but more likely we would have more than one. Where the disconnect is, we forget to talk to each other. I will wager you haven't told people outside of your social circle, here's what I'm really kind of excited about. So other folks who might be willing to help don't know. So folks who raised your hands, what's your name?
Natasha.
Natasha, okay. Folks who raised your hand, if Natasha said, would you be willing to help me meet up with somebody in your circle in that field, would you do it? Raise your hand if you would. A lot of hands. But you got to talk to each other. So, that percolates. Yes, Ritza.
I was going to mention something that wasn't said. Use your professors. Your professors know a lot of people. So my marketing professor, Scott Erickson, he brought a guest speaker. Her name is Alyssa. She's the marketing manager at the Hangar Theater. And he got me connected with her, and now I work there. You know, so it's just like, talk to them, show an interest, and be like, I want to figure out what I want to do. Go during their office hours, mention you're looking for something, and they might share something with you that you didn't think was even possible. And then I would also say, like, really look for positions that you know you can't, like, really, like, you can't, you'll look at the position, you know you can't, like, be real about the position you, like, look for, because, like, otherwise you're gonna mess yourself up and you won't be able to, like, show, like, who you are once you get to the next step of, like, that interview process. That's just something randomly I wanted to mention. But the networking can get really hard, but networking with professors, alumni, when you're here, like, I kind of lost a little bit of that once I graduated from IC, but there's so many great people who have great friends who could probably hook you up with something.
Sure. Other questions? No other questions, really? Yeah, okay.
Was there ever a time where you felt that you were second guessing your major, your path that you wanted to choose, and what did you do about it?
I'll say really briefly. So when I came to Ithaca College, I wanted to just do arts management. We didn't really have a management major except theater arts management, and I didn't just want to do theater, so I said, I'm just going to do business. And business really was not everything I wanted to do. I liked the management and marketing aspects of it, more of the management. And I kept thinking, man, should I just create my own major and call it like arts activism or something? I don't know, you know what I mean? But I knew I wanted to do like arts. And so I think what I realized is that I could take out from the classes, there was one of my favorite classes in my business was called Leadership, Power and Politics and Organization. And I spoke with my professor, and it was probably one of the best classes at IC because I realized that for me, it was what I wanted out of my major. And because I graduated with a business degree that I'm not like completely like satisfied with, I knew that like I had this one class, you know, that really like wrapped it around for me. And now like I'm in like a position where like my business major isn't really that much of a big like deal, you know. So if you're taking classes that you're engaged in here, I don't really think the major is that big of a deal.
Yeah, and I can speak to that too. I have a twin brother who also goes to IC. Actually, currently he's in his 6th year for the physical therapy program. So my twin brother had this direct path of he's PT, he's going to do his clinicals, and he's going to get a job, and it's going to be a well-paying job. He said, I graduated with a degree in television radio production, and it's very broad. It's not a direct path to a job. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's not. So I was struggling with that. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I did an internship in LA, but I didn't want to move across the country right after I graduated and move away from my family. So I dealt with, did I make the wrong decision with my major? Even though I love my major, I love the school, I wouldn't take it back for a second. But it just wasn't a direct path into something solid. But I took a step back and realized I have a bachelor's degree. Today you need your bachelor's degree in anything, and you can go apply for a job in publishing. And just when you're in interviews, make sure you know, I took these classes that relate to this job. I did these internships that relate to this job. They don't necessarily care about your specific title of what you did. I did these classes that relates to this, and I had my bachelor's degree. So that made me feel a lot better when I was applying to jobs. Even though it wasn't television and radio companies, I had my bachelor's degree.
For me, I guess when I first came into Ithaca College, I didn't know what I wanted to do. It was like, oh, something government-y, I don't know. But you know, I was second guessing what I wanted to do. And when I realized what I really wanted to do, when I took a class with a professor named Jonathan Brown, and you know, kind of latched onto him and like picked his mind a lot. And I think for me, what really solidified what my passion was or what I wanted to do was the fact that I took a class with someone, or took a class in something that I'm interested in. I'm like, okay, this is really cool, and just spoke to the professor or different people in that field and gained as much advice, as much insight as possible. The class I took was political communication, campaigns and elections, where we had to make a campaign for class, which was really cool. And I was like, yo, that's legit. I like this, I dig it, I can do it. And so just experiment. Don't be afraid to experience different things and talk to people who are in fields that you are probably considering, things that you're interested in. I mean, you know, you have a lot of life to live in. There are a lot of people who I know who are in their 40s who still don't know what they want to do, and they've transferred jobs multiple times, but it's fine. They're fine. They're doing well. They're happy. There's a guy who is 53 who decided that he wanted to be a lawyer, and he went to law school at 53, which is really crazy, but yeah, it's okay to change your mind. It's fine. Don't be afraid if you don't know exactly what you do. Don't be afraid if you don't know exactly what you want to do, but just make sure you talk to as many people as possible to get an idea of what you're interested in.
Other questions? We have probably time for one more. Hard to know sometimes. Yeah, in the back, please.
So we emphasize so much on communication because it's such a big thing. For extroverts, it'll be a very easy task. What about introverts? How do you have them go about doing that, especially when the world is an actual world and a professional world?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn's your best friend.
It's amazing. It's how I got my job. I was picked out of school. I didn't go through an alumni contact. I would have if there was somebody there, but I was picked out of school on LinkedIn. Just send them an email. I'm an introvert. I'm not heavily extroverted, so go online, send emails, send your resume, pick up a phone if you have the courage to do so. But LinkedIn is amazing. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the things I've been saying, a lot of the things I said kind of applies more to extroverted people, but I guess with the advent of like LinkedIn, the advent of social media makes it really, really easy. Because like Mark Zuckerberg, his goal is to connect the world. Like he said that multiple times. And there's a Facebook chart I looked at once where it's like, oh, you're like 3.2 degrees separated from the president of the United States, They're like, you never know who may know someone. So social media does make that really easy. I've also spoke to a whole bunch of people, or like connect to a network of people on Twitter. Don't be afraid to use Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook. Even though you may not think of Facebook or Twitter as a way to connect, but those are actually very, very useful tools for people who are necessarily comfortable with just talking to a random person and getting their contact information. So yeah, use social media. It's an awesome thing. I mean, you don't have to be super extroverted to use social media.
I would add to that as someone who is a fairly extreme extrovert, introvert rather, started to come out right and then it failed me. That's what happens when you get older. I do better in small conversations. Like I can present, and I'm very comfortable doing what I'm doing right now. But if we were all having a conversation together, that would be more difficult for me. So I often seek out opportunities where I can talk more directly to you. And I can start that, if we don't know each other, with a note, an email. I'm probably not the pick up the phone guy. I'll do it if I have to, but I don't want to do it, right? So my advice is start small, and I'm not suggesting don't ever challenge yourself. Because sometimes you do have to pick up the phone. Sometimes you do have to walk into the big room. But it's okay, even in a networking event, to start over here and get the landscape, right? Take it in. Get comfortable. Think about, what am I trying to accomplish from this experience? It's good to always have a goal in mind when you're networking. By the way, for events, if you're the introvert and you have a friend who's the extrovert, go with them. Pair up, seriously. We have to help each other out through this. The good news is there are plenty of jobs for everybody. There really, really are. Even in a down economy, there are jobs. But we are not in a down economy right now. We're actually in one of the best job markets for college grads since the late 90s. And I don't think you know that, but it's the truth. So everybody has the potential to get a job. So let's work together, right? Help each other out. These folks are doing that. It's the old phrase, right? Paying it forward. They're they're reaching back and they're helping to pull you along, and at some point you'll be the folks doing that too. So. All right, we're just about at time, so I'm going to ask our panel, any parting words of wisdom? I always end with that one.
Take time to travel before you have to pay your student loans. So I'm gonna just keep it real. I was like, I was working a job at Gimme Coffee, and then I'm working at the Hangar, and I'm paying rent, and I'm living in Ithaca, and I realized that my loans would start to come in soon. So I took a month vacation, and I went to Seattle, I went to Portland, I went to Vancouver, and like I had no one to worry about. I didn't have to come back and like study for my exam. Like that's so much, it's so much privilege to not have to worry about those things anymore. So take time to travel, take time to like do fun stuff. Yes, you might have your parents on your backs, like get that real job or get this, whatever. But if you're here, you're starting somewhere. So remember, like, to do those things so you feel a little bit more confident once you find the job that you want to do.
For me, mine would be, don't be afraid to ask for help. My parents were always like, yeah, you know, you can do it, you have the resources, but I was just being stubborn with them. Don't be afraid to go to career services. It was literally the best thing that I ever did. It got me out of my rut, and it pushed me to start applying for jobs in my field. Just do not be afraid to ask for help.
For me, I would say first, breathe. Just remember that, just breathe. You guys will be fine. And I understand college, there's so much limited responsibility and a whole bunch of freedom. It's awesome, but once you graduate, like you're gonna feel like you're in a free fall, but just breathe. You'll be fine. And enjoy not having to do homework for a bit unless you go back to school, right? And network, just always, always, always do your best to network. Because you never know who may know someone else. That really helps.
And it's going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not as bad as people make it. It's actually a great job. Yeah.
Eloise, you want to add some words of wisdom?
Hope everybody does a business card. It doesn't have to say much, just how to contact you on it and maybe what your interest is, so that when somebody gives you their business card, you can give them theirs. You can order them very cheaply from Vistaprint or also a company called Move.com. Moves are a little better because they're more cardboardy, they're better quality. But do that, and make sure that your LinkedIn profile doesn't look like you're a stalker, you know, so connect with everybody and have a nice little picture there and fill it all out, because every place that you apply to will look you up on LinkedIn.
I would add one final thing to that: authenticity. Your authentic story, your authentic self is interesting. Tell your truth. You don't have to be somebody you think they want you to be. You have to have certain skills for certain fields, but what you bring is valuable and important. Be who you are. Okay? So with LinkedIn photos, they are available at noon today. If you are not feeling camera ready today, I probably am not. We're going to have it also at the Job and Internship Fair on Wednesday, so you have 2 opportunities to get a smoking photo, okay? Well, thank you. Yeah, Jonathan.
One last thing. One last thing. Yeah, just be conscientious of what you post on social media.
Oh, yeah.
My boss, like, added me on Facebook, and he every so often like likes the stuff I post. So just, it feels weird. Just be conscious of that.
I know.
Yeah. I want to thank Morgan, Ritza, and Jonathan. I want to thank Eloise. And I want to thank you for having the courage to say, you know what, I don't have it all figured out. Good for you.